appreciate the end result that would come from that. From there, the overwhelming part for me was the volunteer spirit and the efforts of so many people that were involved. As you may recall, on 3rd Street, Lawyers Row, whatever that area you may recall it, the day after the tornado, it was still pretty windy, and those buildings were very, very dangerous. And the task was so daunting that I knew that our building codes department could not take on the task in a timely manner to be able to get the evaluations of the buildings completed for redevelopment, for reconstruction, whatever, in a timely manner. So we set up some groups, and these groups, each group had an architect, an engineer, some had structural engineers, but an architect, an engineer, a building codes official. Do you remember who else it was? There were groups that were set up, and each one of those groups had the same makeup. And those groups then would go into these buildings, and they would put an X on the building or something, and each one of those quadrants stood for a particular item. It was damaged beyond repair. It was repairable. It needed immediate help, whatever. So that as those that were driving down the road or needing to know what the status of each one of those buildings were, we had professionals that had gone in there using their own volunteer time to do that on behalf of the city. And that was very helpful because all we had was a small group of building codes officials that would have had to do that. But we had probably 6 or 8 groups set up under that makeup that was very helpful for the city to be able to kind of move this process along a little further, a little faster. There are so many things that I could talk about, and Jim, why don't you come up just a moment? I'm going to get you to give a few little anecdotal comments. Many of you may have heard me talk about the situation. Sam Collins had Collins Music Store there. You had the Front Page Deli. Many of us remember it as the John's Cleaners. Wasn't that John's Cleaners in that corner? What was that?
Another Cleaners.
Huh?
I can't remember the name of it, but it was another
There
Cleaners.
was a Cleaners.
On the corner, yeah.
I thought it was John's Cleaners on that corner. Ron said it was, but anyway, so there's a Cleaners there. Well, he owned that building. He also owned the place behind it called Collins Music Store. And Sam was a unique individual, and one that's missed, a wonderful person, great Clarksville. Well, that took a direct hit down through. That's where the tornado hit. In the basement of that John's Cleaners, around the backside of it, there was an apartment. And I tell this story, it's kind of a humorous story, because when these dogs were trying to get around, trying to find if anyone hurt, well, one of the dogs went in the basement apartment down there, and there was debris everywhere. It was destroyed. This building was destroyed. And when they went inside there, they found a gentleman inside there who was sound asleep, hours after the tornado. And we all laughed, or he told us that he had a party the night before. He just didn't know what happened. So the tornado hit our city, and he was still enjoying his party. I also remember in the organization of trying to set up to try to get a good grasp as to the hurt that people were going through. We set up a walkthrough, particularly over in Dog Hills, and there was a group of us that were walking through Dog Hills, and I was walking by this one house, and there was a lady sitting on the porch. A tree had fallen across her porch of her house, across her porch in her house. Unfortunately, the rule was that government was not supposed to get on people's private property to do anything to help them. We kind of broke that rule along. But as we walked by, she was sitting there, and she was crying. And so I walked over there to her, and I said, "Ma'am," I said, "I sure am sorry." She said, "Well," she said, "I appreciate it." She said, "How am I going to get this tree off my house?" Sitting on a rocking chair on her front porch, crying. And I said, I don't know if it was you or someone I told to, I said, "Hey, get someone, get a chainsaw, and get this tree off this house, and get this lady comfortable, and make her feel as comfortable as she can be." I remember that because that was what we crossed many, many times in this city. People's lives were hurt. Their properties were damaged. At the time, they thought irreparable. Yet, we all came together, worked together to rebuild our city. I could talk on for a long time. I didn't think 30 minutes. I thought 30 minutes was too long. I could tell you a lot of things. Tell you about St. Bethlehem. I could tell you about what went on there. Tell you about the establishment of the Central Business Improvement District and how that came about, and the council that was involved, and how proactive they were, and how fortunate that I've been to be involved with a great group of leaders, Jim Turret, and those of you that I hear, David Rigg, and daughter, thank you for all you've done. Gino was there, and thank you, Gino, for all your active role and part. He was on the police department, PIO at that time, and what a wonderful role that you played during that time. But we're fortunate to have great leaders in this city, leaders that are unselfish, leaders that will deny themselves, that will give the personal financial resources, the personal wealth, so that our community may continue to grow. And today, what we see is a redevelopment of our city, not just downtown, but our entire city. You see positive things growing and going everywhere in Clarksville, downtown specifically. If you're not proud of this, I don't know what you can be proud of. What you can be proud of. This is a beautiful downtown, becoming even more beautiful every day. The commitment of the volunteers, the commitment of the leadership of the city, the DDP, the CBID, the hundreds of thousands of dollars of private investors that they give, not for anything in return, but so they live in a community that they're proud of. The recent completion of Strawberry Alley and the continuation of the redevelopment of our downtown makes me something I'm proud of. I told them this morning I'm proud to be your mayor. I'm proud to be here at an important time in Clarksville's history, so that whatever small role that I can play, I want to play it. I want to be a part of the continuing growing of Clarksville, the continuing expansion. Clarksville is no longer a town; it's now a city, and it's because of the hard work of the David Riggins of the world, the Jeff Bibbs, the Dick Batsons, the Ron Smithfields. Thank you, Ron, for all you do. David Smithfield, all these volunteers. It's an honor to be serving with you side by side to make Clarksville what it's becoming. I'm proud of what it's becoming. And it's almost like a baby. I was driving down yesterday, driving the road, thinking about it today, thinking what I was going to say. Being mayor for me is almost like a child. I love my children more than anything in the world. I love my wife. And Clarksville is my third child. My wife and I both, I wish you were here. The hours that we drive around and we look and we think and we dream and we vision. We set agendas and we try to set goals, just as we do our children. And I'm proud of where we are. We're not through yet. We're going to continue on. We're going to continue making Clarksville the best it can be. I'd like to ask Jim to come up. He would say, you've got a few things, I'm sure, Jim. They'll cut us off here in a few minutes.